So I left the British Army back in 2010 without much of a plan, I have to say. It was an idea of mine to write. I really wanted to write a book about travel and adventure, but in order to do that I knew that I needed to basically establish myself and find a platform from which to do that. So I ended up setting up a little business when I left the army, specialising in quite niche guiding services, taking people to potentially sort of high-risk areas, conflict zones, and so on. So I was basically organising journeys for private individuals, high-net-worth clients, and also media outlets. So I was taking journalists to places like Iraq and Syria and Afghanistan, and that gave me a sort of an idea and platform in business itself, but also enabled me to do what I was really passionate about, which was travel and adventure. Finding that balance between work and leisure is a tricky one for me, because it doesn't, it is, everything I do now seems to be work, but it doesn't feel like work. It's not a chore. And actually, I've basically lived my boyhood dream, which was to do what I'm doing now and to be able to write, to document travels, to be an ambassador for causes that I'm passionate about. It doesn't really get better than that. So I really do feel like every day I wake up and get to do new things. It's just been an amazing journey. Along the way, I've had quite a few near misses that, in hindsight, these journeys are not necessarily entirely safe. They're not without their risks, but that's part of it. And I think actually, I don't think I'd change anything necessarily. I probably would. I wouldn't have worried so much. If I was to tell my younger self, one thing, it was like, don't stress about it. It's going to work out all right. It's a bit of a cliche, but I think getting to the start point is almost the hardest part. Is making the decision to do something, whatever that might be. For me, I knew that I wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted to explore and to document journeys and to write a book. Ultimately, that was my sort of goal 10 years ago. And I think if you've got a dream, whatever it might be, in any walk of life, you've just got to commit to it and dedicate yourself to it, and not be afraid to take risks, not be afraid to sometimes put all your eggs in one basket. Because the thing is, the problem is if you've got a safety blanket, sometimes that can undermine your own will to succeed in something. So I think it's about determination. If you want to do something, you can do it, and don't be scared of it. For me, that really is all about sticking to your own rules. It's about having a purpose and goals along the way, but not forgetting to enjoy the journey as well. Life isn't about the destination. It's about ultimately trying to find those moments of joy and happiness in what you do along the way. So it's not getting too wrapped up. It's always good to have a focus, and it's always good to have an end state. But I think the good part of having a good life is about doing the very best you can, enjoying it, and hopefully helping other people along the way. Success is having fewer regrets than you otherwise might have. I think that's as simple as that, really, because people that say, "Oh, no regrets," I think everyone's got some regrets. I've got regrets, but I think if I hadn't have done the things that I took risks to do, then I would certainly have more regrets. And I think there's a great Mark Twain quote that 20 years from now you'll regret more the things that you didn't do than the things you did do. So explore, dream, discover. And I think that for me summed up my early mantra on life, which was to just go and do it. There are risks, yes, but if you go and give it your best shot, what's the worst that can happen? Wealth, for me, it's changed in its meaning over the last certainly 5 years, just because of the opportunities that have presented themselves from taking those early risks. But I don't think it's necessarily all about the money. I think it's having the means to do one, what you enjoy, but two, something that's meaningful and purposeful along the way. And I think if you are in a position where you are stable and secure and you can then help other people, then I think that's a positive outcome of putting your wealth to good use and being generous. I think being philanthropic in whatever way suits your own goals and aims is great. But ultimately, it's about providing for yourself, for the people around you, but I think more importantly, actually setting an example to the wider community in what you do with that wealth. I don't know if I'll ever retire because I don't feel that I go to work. I kind of, I can make money doing what I'm doing now, which is great, which is inspiring other people by doing what I enjoy. So hopefully I don't have to retire. I might take my foot off the gas a little bit and not necessarily do a massive expedition every year, but I hope that I can write and take pictures and do whatever I want to do well into old age.